This little document went completely under the radar, no one's been talking about this, that reveals that the Light Emperor of the Arathi humans is called Thoradin, and he has been ruling as the Holy Radiance for well over 300 years, which means that this guy is either undead or immortal, and this raises incredibly interesting implications. We recently learned that the Arathi are known to raise light-based undead, as they say, loyal only to the Emperor. We also know Light-forged humans that are able to live multiple lifespans through the power of the Naaru. What is this new document? Let's examine the latest lore from the War Within beta, and let's see who this Emperor really is. Could we be encountering an insanely advanced Light Empire on a new continent ruled by an undead monarch? If you guys want to buy Total War, Elder Scrolls, or any other game, you can get them at great prices with my Gamivo link. You can also get anything Warcraft related, gift cards and software, and all below market prices. Best of all, if you add my code DORON, you can get an even bigger discount, so make sure to check out my link in the description and get some amazing deals with Gamivo. So by this point, you definitely know about the Arathi Empire on a different continent and the Light Emperor. Realistically, one of the most interesting bits of the War Within lore, because let's be real, the War Within seems really great, but it's really not all too exciting when you compare it to Midnight in The Last Titan, at least from the lore perspective. We got some Void, Xal'atath, Old God, Lore Titan influence, a little bit of these Arathi humans, but there isn't really all that much more than this. However, this Arathi Empire that we never knew about is getting more interesting by the day as we're constantly getting new information. So you probably already know most of the lore about them, hence I'm not going to go into a crazy lore lesson here. In the ancient times, human tribes united, formed the Arathi Empire, then this empire found unlikely allies with the elves of Quel'Thalas. It was really a mutually beneficial agreement. The big Arathi armies would help them fight the Amani trolls, while the elves would teach the humans magic, as they were the leading magic race of Azeroth at the time. This was nearly 3,000 years ago. This war was won, but what they didn't know until the World Soul Saga is that a group of these elven mages and a big part of the Arathi apparently decided to abandon their home continent, the Eastern Kingdoms, and they went to a place beyond the sea where they didn't form a new kingdom, but they continued what they already had, as they still call themselves the Arathi Empire. By the known lore, they live beyond the Storming Sea, which is very likely the western side of Kalimdor, as we can never encounter them, and they must be somewhere that is very inaccessible. Interestingly enough, if you observe the crack in the War Within logo at the end of the cinematic, which is based on Kalimdor actually, you can see sort of a landmass west of Kalimdor, which might be a little glimpse at their home continent. Now, the Arathi humans we're encountering are just an expedition. What we learned from the beta dialogue so far is they're ruled by a light-based emperor. They're very powerful, they're rich, they seem intolerant, fanatical, and very technologically advanced. However, the rabbit hole goes much deeper than this, as we learned a few more things from the other dialogue documents, and most interestingly, this little book. Originally, this seemed like a random in-game book that was just complete gibberish, just random text written on a page to appear like something important, but people have actually managed to figure out the letters, to decipher it, and to translate it, and to acquire some insanely interesting information. So these guys were sent by the Emperor as he got a light vision, same time as Velen, which was back in Cataclysm, and he sent his giant army to the final battle between the Light and the Void that is supposed to happen on Azeroth, this battle called Ranilash. They weren't supposed to be isolated, that was a mistake because all the mages died and they couldn't make the portals to connect to the capital, but he saw everything that is happening right now. The Nerubian army, the Harbinger, the awakening that is about to happen, even gods dying, which we are yet to see. Now this little book describes this exactly. The journey was perilous and we lost many faithful Arathi on the quest for Hellophal, but persevered and revealed the Emperor's vision. In the 342nd year of glorious dominion, His Holy Radiance Emperor Thoradin, the number by sovereign edict, did ordain the assembly of the Hellophal expedition to traverse the Storming Sea. Now once we get to analyzing this, you will see how crazy it actually is when you cross-examine it with the other hints. So the book describes, as I stated, this expedition to Ranilash. It is strange though that it says that it was a quest for Hellophal, because other info stated they were sent to this zone by surprise, like they were actually going somewhere else and then they just randomly ended up reaching this cave, this Hellophal. However, keep in mind they named the zone Hellophal and they named the crystal Beladar, the giant light crystal that is also referred in other dialogues as the the Emperor's vision. So it's probably actually going according to the plan. They just didn't expect they would crash land here and lose so many. They probably thought they would arrive normally and wouldn't lose, as they say, many faithful Arati. Interesting enough, this document mentions the Storming Sea. Yet again, this Storming Sea name, which is another trend, and this is almost certainly a confirmation that they're on a continent that is inaccessible to us right now with our current technology. It is very likely they're able to pass it because they use advanced zeppelins powered by a new form of magic called the Sacred Flame, but we'll get to that in a bit. Other documents stated that green dragons reach a land beyond the Storming Sea that the Titans didn't want others to learn about because they hid something there very likely as well. Now, the most interesting thing here though is we actually get a glimpse of the identity of the Emperor. So it says that his name is Thoradin, and we get a number with 2 letters, so this is very likely Thoradin the 11th or Thoradin the 25th. It could really be any number. This name might sound familiar to you because there is Thoradin's Wall in Arati Highlands in the Eastern Kingdoms that you definitely heard about, and this was the name of the original and the most iconic Arati Emperor. So it's definitely not him. I mean, monarchs usually reuse the same name, but it's likely that they could be his direct offspring and they just use the same name every single time. Now, here, if we learn the number, you can kind of count how many generations one can be, but this is actually the craziest part of this cipher document. So it says that in the year of glorious dominion, and we get 3 numbers. It isn't certain, but it's predicted to be 342nd year, which might immediately raise an eyebrow, as we know humans generally don't live for over 300 years. Now, the document states in the 342nd year of glorious dominion. It doesn't specifically state his dominion. Some would say this could be how old the empire is, but that is honestly impossible because Lordaeron is over 1,000 years old, and this Arati Empire split happened before that. It's almost certain that the Emperor Thoradin the 15th or whatever has been ruling the lands for over 342 years, which could mean 2 things. Either he is immortal or he is undead, and both of these have insanely interesting implications. So far, we actually have evidence for both. We have a light undead that can't really die in the conventional way, resurrected by Naru directly, which is Calia Menethil, and we have a really old guy that lived multiple lifetimes called Turelion that is essentially being kept alive by the light. Turelion isn't technically undead in the sense of the word, but he's far beyond the traditional human lifespan. Even more interestingly, these Arati humans are not really light followers in the traditional sense of the word. They use a brand new magic style that we had never known about called the Sacred Flame. Long story short, as we have some documents explaining this, but from what we know, they're combining elements into wielding this, and Sacred Flame seems like a mix between a holy priest and a fire mage, like wielding both fire magic as well as the light and mixing it all together. It honestly makes perfect sense. I mean, they're powering up their zeppelins with this like actual machines, which generally is done through fire. Now, this Sacred Flame raises another example, and that is Metal Fellstorm, arguably the first undead on Azeroth that lived for thousands of years, only being kept alive by his magic. So we know that the light can keep you alive seemingly forever, it can resurrect you, and magic can also do a very similar thing. However, the rabbit hole goes even deeper. So these light undead models that we had data mined quite a while ago actually finally got an explanation. It was hinted that the Empire and the Emperor will not like us, and that these Arati allies that are working with us are just desperate ones that really need aid. I mean, they can't really choose. In the beta, the Arati humans actually split into 2 factions, and the ones raising these undead say they don't want help from outsiders, and they're resurrecting their own as undead zombies that they only will be loyal to the Emperor directly. This Emperor loyal undead could indicate that the Arati Emperor could be undead himself, seeing that he's probably like 400 years old. They obviously know how to resurrect undead through the Sacred Flame, and they very likely are known to practice necromancy in general. However, personally, I think the Light Emperor may be something of a mix between Calia Menethil and Turelion, as he's some type of a light forged being, as he is being called his Holy Radiance. Nonetheless, though, I feel like this lore might seriously be some of the most interesting that is going to happen soon, and it will be a huge thing when we actually get to this new continent, see the Emperor in person, and learn what they're really about. These guys might be our enemies, but I feel like with the imminent Void invasion that there might be some type of a civil Civil War, so a part of them will become our allies, just like in Hellfall, while the others will want to exterminate us, and I do feel like the Emperor might be on that side. Of course, way too early to predict anything accurately, but a Light Emperor of a super powerful advanced Light Empire that is potentially a Lightforged undead hundreds of years old could turn out to be super interesting new lore. Thank you for watching. Check out the brand new Old God Whispers from the beta by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on Ancient Training on the second channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.